Ever feel like you're staring at a giant, impossible puzzle of business data? Well, think of this explainer as your playbook to solve it. We're going to transform all that confusion into a seriously powerful tool for making smarter, faster decisions. Let's dive in.
So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll tackle the why, the modern business puzzle. Then we get into the how, actually finding golden data. From there, we'll see it all in action as we crack the customer code and solve the risk and people equation. And finally, we'll pull it all together and give you your analytics compass.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the modern business puzzle. In a world that's just overflowing with information, why does it feel so hard to find the right direction? We're about to see exactly why every single business needs a data compass.
You know the feeling, right? You're buried in spreadsheets, reports, and dashboards, just endless amounts of information. But when it comes time to make a really big call, it still feels like you're taking a shot in the dark. That right there, that's the classic problem business analytics was built to solve.
And this right here is our compass. You see, business analytics isn't about replacing human intuition. It's about supercharging it. The whole point is to back up our gut feelings with solid evidence, helping us perform the kind of deep analysis that lets us spot opportunities and risks we would have completely missed otherwise. Okay, so we've got our compass. Now, in Section 2, we've got to learn how to actually use it. This is all about finding gold in data. Because before you can get those game-changing insights, you need the right tools to prepare your data and start unearthing those hidden gems. Look, it all starts right here, with the quality of your data. Think of it like the foundation of a house. If it's weak, everything you build on top of it is going to come crashing down. Your data has to be accurate, complete, consistent, timely, and, actually valid for the question you're asking. Get just one of these wrong and your analysis is already built on shaky ground.
And here's a super important point that a lot of people get wrong. Good data does not mean complex data. It's about being clean and reliable. You could have the fanciest algorithm on the planet, but if you feed it messy data, you'll get messy results. Garbage in, garbage out. It's really that simple.
All right, so your data's clean. Now for the fun part. We go mining. This is the active hunt, sifting through all that information to find the valuable nuggets, those hidden patterns and surprising relationships that tell you something genuinely new about your business. And this isn't just random digging. There's a process. First, you clean the data, get rid of all the errors and junk. Then you use your tools to identify potential patterns. But you don't stop there. The last step is absolutely crucial. You have to validate your findings to make sure what you found is a real insight, not just some random fluke.
Now, one of the coolest techniques for finding patterns is something called association rules. It's basically a system for finding these simple if-then relationships. So think about it. This is how a supermarket knows that if a customer buys diapers, they're also very likely to buy beer. It's a simple insight, but it can literally change how you design your entire store.
Okay, we have the tools. Now let's put them to work on something that matters to every single business out there. In Section 3, we're cracking the customer code. We're moving from theory to practice to see how analytics helps us understand the people who keep us in business. And that leads us to a metric that, honestly, changes the whole game. Customer Lifetime Value, or CLV. This forces a huge shift in thinking. It's not about how much a customer spent today. It's about predicting their total worth over their entire relationship with you. That one number tells you how much you should be willing to spend to get a new customer and keep the ones you've got. So how do you actually boost that customer lifetime value? Well, two of the most classic data-driven strategies are cross-selling and upselling. The difference is pretty simple. Cross-selling is like asking, do you want fries with that, offering a related product. Upselling is encouraging a customer to go for the more premium, higher-priced version of what they're already buying. Right, but you can't just use the same strategy for everyone, can you? Of course not. And that's where segmentation comes in. The whole goal here is to group your customers based on similar behaviors or traits, so you can talk to them in a way that actually resonates. It's the difference between shouting with a megaphone and having a real conversation. Understanding your customers is all about growing the business, but what about protecting it? So for Section 4, we're going to flip the script and solve for the risk and people equation. We're turning that analytical lens inward to see how data protects our assets and empowers our own workforce. This quote just nails the whole idea behind financial stress testing. You don't want to find out your ship has a leak when you're in the middle of a hurricane. No way. You want to test it under the absolute worst simulated conditions to find every weakness before it becomes a catastrophe. And the go-to metric for this kind of stress test is called value at risk, or VAR for short. It's designed to answer a very simple but terrifyingly important question. In a worst-case scenario, what's the absolute most we could possibly lose on this? It takes the abstract idea of risk and puts a hard, cold number on it.
Okay, so how on earth do you even calculate something like VAR? Well, analysts often use a technique called a Monte Carlo simulation. And don't let the fancy name scare you. Just imagine rolling a pair of dice thousands and thousands of times to figure out the most likely outcomes. A Monte Carlo simulation does exactly that for financial markets. It runs countless digital trials to map out all the possible futures, showing you where your real risk is hiding.
Now let's switch gears from financial assets to, well, human assets, your people. The financial impact of workforce decisions is huge, and one metric makes that painfully clear: the total cost of turnover. See, when an employee leaves, it's not just a lost salary. Analytics lets us add up the real costs: recruiting, interviewing, training, lost productivity. And it makes a massive hidden expense suddenly very, very visible.
All right, this brings us to our final section where we're going to put all of these puzzle pieces together, your analytics compass. We've looked at the foundations, the customers, the risks, the people. Now let's see how they all combine to guide your entire strategy.
So here it is, your complete analytics toolkit. It all works together. You've got your core discipline of business analytics, and then you apply it everywhere. Data mining to find the insights, customer analytics to drive growth, risk analytics to protect what you've built, and workforce analytics to empower your team. Each piece is powerful, but their real magic happens when they work together.
So if you take away just one thing, let it be this. That feeling of drowning in data, it's optional. With the right mindset and the right tools, data stops being this overwhelming problem and becomes your single most powerful strategic asset. It's the compass that points you toward better and better decisions. And that leaves us with one final, pretty big question to think about. As these analytical tools get better and better at predicting what's next, what does that mean for us? In a world guided by data, what becomes the new, irreplaceable role for human experience, for our intuition, and for our wisdom?